To drive to work to pay for this car, buy this car to drive to work.
Welcome to Yellow Brick Road. I am Jordan, and today I am here to talk about TYT's Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian purposely smearing Tulsi and probably accidentally selling a war because they're stupid on the topic. They're probably really dumb on foreign policy, so they're essentially selling a war without even knowing it. But first, please consider donating to Devon's Journey to Recovery. The GoFundMe link is down there in the description box. Down there. Click that link, read the story, check out the other donations, and donate some money yourself. None of the money goes to us. It goes to charity, and I guess GoFundMe takes a chunk of it because fuck them, that's why. Profits, So please donate. Devon's Journey to Recovery. GoFundMe link down there. Not my dick. Description box. Alright. So, Anna Kasparian put out a tweet last night during the debates basically criticizing Tulsi Gabbard on her answer to the debate question about the northern Syria, Turkey, and the Kurds question or situation. And it's a horrible, very bad, it's a shitty take. It sucks. And hopefully by the end of this, you have a clear picture of, is this corruption, or is this ignorance, or is it corruption of another sort, sort of like, pride, or wanting to be like, I want up Tulsi Gabbard, which might be Anna's thing, really. I mean, she sucks at it, but it might be her thing. But before I go over her tweet and all that, let's play a clip from last night when they were doing their little show. And Anna has some questions for Cenk Uygur about Tulsi Gabbard. Here we go.
But one of the attacks that I thought was interesting was when I think a layup question toward Tulsi Gabbard turned into an opportunity to try to attack Warren, but it didn't really land. And so it's weird because Tulsi Gabbard seems to be supportive of the Kurds in northern Syria, but her answer didn't seem to support the Kurds. I mean, when she's not on the debate stage, she's said things, and she tweeted too, that Trump has blood on his hands over what he did in northern Syria. But on the debate stage, she refused to condemn him.
Donald Trump has the blood of the Kurds on his hand.
Let's continue, though.
And immediately attacked Warren. What did you think of that?
Yeah, so it was actually telling because it's not about Tulsi. Tulsi at this point is under 1% in the polling.
Doesn't Cenk look tired and doesn't he look like he just hates his life? Just being real, man. Just has a, one of those.
Yeah, okay. And she has decided to target different candidates in different debates. When she went after Kamala Harris, her attacks landed because they rang true. They were correct, and they hurt Kamala real bad.
Yep, people were, bringing up those criticisms about Kamala Harris for a long time. Probably people that are friends of Cenk, maybe like a Jimmy Dore or a Kyle Kulinski. Those guys were bringing that up already about Kamala Harris, and yeah, that's a layup for Tulsi, right?
When she went after Warren in this debate, and she clearly did that several times over.
Twice.
They didn't land because she was trying to say that Elizabeth Warren is going for too much.
She was trying to say that Elizabeth Warren was going for too much. That's just not true, and that's a lazy assessment of what someone who did some sort of detective work on these topics or on the candidates themselves. That's a lazy take. Like, I could clearly make up a better story than that just looking at it. Just a guy who has I don't have TYT's resources, but I could just look at it and make an assessment of what Tulsi was trying to do. she brought this up when she did an interview with The Hill with the Magic 8 Ball and Sugar and that show Rising. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean to them. Just making fun of their names.
We now see Senator Warren really rising in the polls. She's first in a lot of national polls and several state polls as well, early state polls. Do you believe that she's prepared to be commander-in-chief?
I haven't seen much come from her in the way of what kind of leadership and decision-making that she would bring to that most important responsibility that the president has as commander-in-chief, and just as a soldier and an American, that's very concerning for me. So, for voters, I think that's an important thing to look out for from everyone who's running for president, is what kind of experience do you have in this area? What kind of depth and understanding do you bring to these very nuanced and complex issues with how the United States is relating with other countries, what kind of leadership we're providing in the world, and having the kind of foresight and judgment that we've seen leaders from across both party lines have lacked for far too long, that have brought us to this position where, for all three of us, we've seen our country at war for the vast majority of the years that we've been alive.
Yeah, she brought this up about, is she really fit to be president? And I think that's the point she was going to lean towards. And there's actually legitimate reason to question that. Now, on the surface, from back here, they're like, oh, you didn't... It's, people look at it like a fucking rap battle or something. Like, oh, that doesn't look as good. Even though your lyrics could be on point and true, it's just like, just doesn't look good. Maybe that, you can make that case. But to misassess where she was going, when you have quote-unquote friends like Kyle Kulinski and Jimmy Dore who seem to find the right critiques of her foreign policy, or at least her previous foreign policy stances.
She goes on, we don't have to choose between a green military and an effective one. This is like a comedy sketch, like I couldn't have written this. My plan will improve our service members' readiness and safety and achieve cost savings for American taxpayers. Together, we can fight climate change and win. What the fuck? This guy says, make the military-industrial complex greener, Liz shouted after voting to give the Nazi president of the United States a bigger military budget to bomb people of color. I thought Donald Trump's a Nazi, and he's a traitor, and he's working for a foreign government against our own interests. Let's give him a couple extra $100 billion to bomb shit. The guy's the head of our military. That's not a big deal. I guess it's not.
And then, to put the cherry on top, she goes on to prove it even further by voting for Donald Trump's massive military budgets. Giant increases to military spending. She votes yes. So out of the one side of her mouth, she talks about how Donald Trump is a Manchurian candidate and Donald Trump is a lunatic who shouldn't be anywhere near that red button. And then at the other side of her mouth, she goes, let's give him more funding for his personal military because he is the commander-in-chief. Even if it wasn't Donald Trump, it would be an egregious vote because we don't need more military spending. We spend more than the next 10 biggest nations combined, and most of them are our allies. But when you add the fact that Donald Trump is the one in charge, it's even worse. Listen, I'm just here to report the information to you guys. You do with this information what you will. There are positive parts of Elizabeth Warren on tax policy and on Wall Street policy, and on an infrastructure deal. She's great. But on foreign policy, man, this is such a giant blind spot, even bigger than I thought. And now you know the reason, too.
Well, look, I remember when Tulsi was far more progressive. She sounded, among the most conservative candidates tonight, which was, even at this late date, is a little surprising to me. So
I remember when Tulsi was far more progressive. So if you go after Warren, if you tell the truth about foreign policy, and if you go after Elizabeth Warren, you are far less progressive than you were before. That's TYT selling that narrative. This is why people call you guys corrupt. Or they call you guys shills, or they call you guys operatives for the Democratic Party. bullshit like this, 100. There's plenty of reasons to criticize Elizabeth Warren's foreign policy. And guess what? The moderators aren't going to do it for you. Guess what? You guys aren't going to do it yourselves. You're going to let her skate on that shit. Are you not? Maybe I'm wrong, but you won't tell it to her face. You won't make her answer the questions. And that's some sort of, psychological deal you guys have with Tulsi Gabbard. It's quite blatant. I mean, I do call Nico House a fanboy of Tulsi Gabbard, but you guys clearly smear her. That's someone stepping back and looking at it and like, oh, that's what it looks like it is.
When she took on the conservative role rather than the progressive role, it totally backfired. It didn't work at all.
When she took on the conservative point of view instead of the progressive one, it totally didn't work at all. Look at all these conservatives running to Tulsi's defense to defend her conservative positions. Conservatives like Ben Norton, who says, no, Gabbard is correct. The U.S. was illegally militarily occupying the northeast third of Syria, where 90% of oil production took place. It's also the fertile breadbasket. The U.S. was holding Syria's oil and wheat hostage as a weapon to destabilize its government. Very right-wing talking point. Here's someone else. Here's Aaron Mate. Once again, conservative thinker, right? He's very known for being a conservative. That's why he's backing Tulsi Gabbard's conservative talking points. He says, it would be great if TYT could interview progressive journalists. Excuse me, he meant conservative journalists. With a different take on Syria. I recommend Rania Kalik, Max Blumenthal, Ben Norton. U.S. spent at least $1 billion on a proxy war with Gulf Turkey allies. Biden aptly described it in 2014. He shows a little clip there. I mean, these are conservatives. So, good point, Cenk Uygur. That's a great point. All these conservatives with their talking points.
All these attacks, the only attack that landed on Warren was she should be clearer and say, look, yes, taxes for the middle class are going to go up by a little bit, but their costs are going to go down so much they're going to have overall savings. And I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm going to save the middle class a giant amount of money.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Warren did fail there. She didn't answer the frickin' question. When it was asked 30 fucking times, she didn't answer the question. But more importantly, I think Tulsi was trying to get her to really answer a question about foreign policy. You need more of an answer than, we need to get out of the Middle East, but we also need to stay there.
I think that we ought to get out of the Middle East. I don't think we should have troops in the Middle East, but we have to do it the right way, the smart way. What this president has done is that he has sucked up to dictators.
Let's give him more funding for his personal military.
He has made impulsive decisions that often his own team doesn't understand.
Let's give him more funding for his personal military.
He has cut and run on our allies.
Let's give him more funding for his personal military.
In Syria, he has created a bigger than ever humanitarian crisis.
Let's give him more funding for his personal military.
He has helped ISIS get another foothold, a new lease on life.
Let's give him more funding for his personal military.
They don't want to hear detailed answers about things. They want to run with on the surface descriptions of each candidate. She's starting to move towards conservative because she's attacking Elizabeth Warren. That's the narrative they're selling, and that is the poor analysis they are giving. Now, about I'd probably say I think today, like 10 hours after this fucking video, TYT puts this video out, where the title of it is Tulsi Bungles Question at Democratic Debates. Naturally, she's probably going to get, Anna Kasparian's probably going to get ratioed for this because it seems like a personal vendetta. It really does seem like that. And it's like, fuck, you are a sad human. That sucks. That's one of the lowest scales to be on if you're a person. To be in like a petty little personal vendetta with someone who probably isn't fighting back against you. Not really. But let's hear her. Maybe she's rethought about it.
So I'm glad that this topic got covered. I did not appreciate Tulsi Gabbard's answer to this question because I had no idea what she was even talking about. But with that preface, let's go to her answer.
Oh, first of all, we've got to understand the reality of the situation there, which is that the slaughter of the Kurds being done by Turkey is yet another negative consequence of the regime change war that we've been waging in Syria. Donald Trump has the blood of the Kurds on his hand, but so do many of the politicians in our country from both parties who have supported this ongoing regime change war in Syria that started in 2011, along with many in the mainstream media who have been championing and cheerleading this regime change war. Not only that, but New York Times and CNN have also smeared veterans like myself for calling for an end to this regime change war. Just 2 days ago, the New York Times put out an article saying that I'm a Russian asset and an Assad apologist and all these different smears. This morning, a CNN commentator said on national television that I'm an asset of Russia. Completely despicable. As president, I will end these regime change wars by doing two things: ending the draconian sanctions that are really a modern day siege, the likes of which we are seeing Saudi Arabia wage against Yemen, that have caused tens and thousands of Syrian civilians to die and to starve. And I would make sure that we stop supporting terrorists like Al-Qaeda in Syria, who've been the ground force in this ongoing regime change war.
So, look,
They always try to stop her after she says that shit. That U.S. has been supporting Al-Qaeda in Syria.
And tell me about the legislation. You have a bill that you introduced today that would address loopholes you say have allowed American taxpayer dollars to fund terror groups such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria. Are you really suggesting that the U.S. government is funding these terrorist groups?
I'm not only suggesting it. This is the reality that we're living in. And
not directly,
most
though.
Americans, you know, if
Does Anna know that? Does Anna know that? Seriously. She probably makes 6 figures a year. Does she know that? Cenk's a millionaire. Does he know that? Does he know people that know that? I'm sure he knows people that know that.
The CIA ramping up covert training programs for moderate Syrian rebels. So we reported this before. Now, this gets reported in the Washington Post on page 80 million, and no one ever talks about it, right? So when this was reported a couple years ago that the CIA was training moderate rebels, well, who were those? And they're doing it in Jordan to go fight in Syria. Right? And why are we in Syria? Because they want to put a pipeline through Syria with natural gas. Okay, just so everybody knows what's going on. That's one of the big reasons. There's a couple of reasons why we're in Syria. None of them have to do with helping people.
But he doesn't watch them, does he? He doesn't listen to them. They're trying to build a brand here, something that can stay and never go away. They want to move into that mainstream bubble. Say, see, we have progressives on the main stage. Like Cenk said, we should have progressive moderators. How come there's no progressive moderators? You're trying to be those moderators, but you don't realize you're compromising yourself to get there. Boy, I can't wait.
just taking my own opinion out of this and focusing on strategy, mentioning how you've been attacked as an Assad asset is not going to play well, because then people are going to go away with that thinking like, wait, is she an asset?
It's the Nixon thing.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest assessment I've ever heard. Ever. Maybe not ever, but that's one of the dumbest things I've ever fucking heard. And it's not because she's dumb. It's because she has a narrative she wants to run with, which is Tulsi just sucks at everything. So just as a strategy, and taking my bias out of it, just as a strategy, that's terrible to point out people smearing you, even though they're going to smear her. Does she bring up Assad last debate she was in? I don't think so. But what was the talk after the debate was over? What kind of questions was she getting? What type of articles came out? What's trending on Twitter? Assad and Tulsi Gabbard. That's what happens, but somehow, someone with all these fucking resources and a multi-million-dollar, essentially, corporation behind you, and TYT is like, that's $1 million industry, I think. Multi-million-dollar thing they got going on there. Somehow they don't realize, they don't notice it. They do not notice the Assad question always popping up with Tulsi Gabbard whenever she does anything, for good or for bad. That's probably one of the first things they mention. Why would she bring that up? Because you have the people right in front of you. They can't run away. You're on national TV. You can't run away when I bring this point up. Why do you always keep bringing up Assad and me and smearing me with that? You can't run anywhere because we're in the debates. So I'm going to call you out right now with the fucking world watching. Or anyone that can afford CNN because they put it behind a paywall.
Yeah, it's just
you can justifiably be pissed about it.
Yeah, and
definitely.
I would be pissed about
but
it.
Don't say it.
But don't say it because it's only gonna.
Don't say it. Just let them do it. Let them say that behind your back, and you just have no response to it. Just let it just be there.
Hurt you, and also this was such a layup for her, right? And what I mean by that is, she supports Kurds, but it wasn't clear in her answer. Like she said, Trump has blood on his hand, but then immediately moved on to this.
Didn't you say she didn't say that?
It's weird because Tulsi Gabbard seems to be supportive of the Kurds in northern Syria, but her answer didn't seem to support the Kurds. I mean, when she's not on the debate stage, she's said things, and she tweeted too, that Trump has blood on his hands over what he did in northern Syria. But on the debate stage, she refused to condemn him.
You said she gave no criticism to Donald Trump at all. Just, several hours prior. Are you correcting that? Or is this a correction? Or are you just pretending you didn't say that? Also, Tulsi's answer was spot on. Like, she nailed that fucking question. But, I don't know. Anna thinks her personal gripes are more important than being as honest as possible to her viewers. And they're probably going to get David Pakman for it. It's like, fuck, we'll just stop talking about her. At some point.
This is about me, I'm being smeared, everyone feel bad for me. No, you need to use this opportunity. I get it. US involvement abroad has been disastrous. But this question is very specific. The Kurds in northern Syria have fought for us. They're guarding ISIS prisoners for us, or were for us. And
if this is there's no way she truly believes the U.S. is there just for defending the Kurds. There's no fucking way. And in fact, that's still, on its surface, dumb guy logic, regime change war. Because they're in Syria. Syria that has a government, that has that is their state, right? That is their country. That is theirs. On paper, using dumb guy logic, it's like, if you're there to protect Kurds, to carve out a piece of land for the Kurdish people, it's like, isn't that like regime change? Isn't it? If I just take parts of the state and say, okay, this is someone else's. Golan Heights, yeah, that's Israel's now. That's their territory now. Is that not regime change? Is it not? When we tell you your state is not your state anymore, it is now partially ours. And who says Israel and the Kurds won't slowly start moving more, start expanding more and more territory? She's a fucking ignoramus on foreign policy, and it's quite clear. And she needs a bubble to talk about it in. She steps out of that, she gets fucking destroyed. She gets wrecked. Because before, you could have earlier TYT could have a Ben Norton or a Max Blumenthal or an Aaron Mate or a Raina Kalik on there. They could have them on there and be like, oh, fuck, I didn't know all this. But now it's too late. Now you're selling a narrative. So if you had those guys on now, They will wreck your shit in front of your audience and make you look like children. So now they can't do that because they need the save face. Do you see the wheels of corruption spinning? It can start off as something as, we want to grow the progressive brand, and, you know, make a push in the mainstream so people can hear about progressive values. But I better compromise here, compromise here, compromise here, compromise here, compromise. And now you can't have those real voices on there. Could you even have a Jimmy Dore back on your show? Like on your main show, talking about this particular topic. Could you have Jimmy Dore on your show right now, on this panel with you, talking about this? Because he would probably make you look bad, and he'd probably steal your audience. They'd start funneling into Jimmy Dore's channel. And people are noticing things like that. Like, glad you got away from TYT, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, what do you think about this video Anna did smearing Tulsi Gabbard? Those are questions Jimmy Dore gets. He tries to ignore them, but sooner or later, just all these TYT fans or former TYT fans are going to start piling up in Jimmy Dore's fan base. And then he might have to address you at some point. I think he's really trying not to, but it's so blatant what you guys are doing.
And then, after one phone call with Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, Trump decides to pull US troops out. Again, they were serving as a deterrent, and now innocent people are literally being murdered right now as we speak.
Well, Tulsi brings that up. She brings that up. In the debate and in other places, she brings that up. She also taught, independent journalists will talk about us guarding natural resources, essentially keeping Syria away from their own property. Anna has no idea that it exists. And I think it's willfully. She willfully does not know about any of that. She truly thinks we're in northern Syria just to protect Kurds. When has the U.S. ever been have ever acted in that way without some sort of interest to protect? Man, you guys did something nice for us, so we're going to protect you now. When has the U.S. ever operated in that light? Seriously, when? I've only seen business deals. We'll do this for you, but we need you guys to do this. That's not friendship. That's a business deal. So I have to assume she's just stupid on this topic. Truly stupid on this topic.
Right? And it was just a bad move. This answer was a layup for her. But instead, she
nailed it. She dunked it, actually. But you don't have the understanding of it to see how she fucking nailed that. You don't know enough to say, oh, yeah, she did get that right. She hit 4 or 5 talking points in one answer. She hit Trump. She hit the Democrats. She hit the military-industrial complex, which is saying both sides, right? She points out both sides have done this. She points out CIA operations in Syria, which is funding moderate rebels. She dispels the smears about her and is like, you guys smear me because I say stuff like this. Because I tell people what's going on. That's why you smear me. She hit that point. That was a dunk. 100% a dunk. I don't know what they're looking for. What I really think happened is Anna gave a shitty answer on Twitter, and now she has to defend it because she's in that lane. She's in that lane of keeping a public image so that the brand can be built, so they can make it to the mainstream. That's their goal, to make it to the mainstream, I think. For good or bad intentions, I'm thinking it's probably something positive, but there's that subconscious desire also to make money. But I think they realize they're making compromises in order to get to this stage. And you don't realize once you get to that stage, you did so many compromises that you're them. You're the people you were fighting the whole time. Alright, that's it from me. Please subscribe if you like. Comment, agree, disagree, send me information. Send me more of how compromised these people are. It's astounding. And you don't even need, you know, quiet conspiracy theories about their funding and all. You know, it's right in front of you. This is right in front of you. Tulsi Gabbard nailed that question, and these guys are like, oh, she could have. It was a layup. She missed it. What was really how you're supposed to just talk about protecting the Kurds. That's it. Just say the same answer everyone else on that stage was going to say. Just do that. Just copy their answer. Say exactly what they were going to say. All those people they call establishment Democrats, that's their answer. Anyways, yeah. Subscribe, comment, agree, disagree, donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery. GoFundMe link down there. See, on a camera, it's like a mirror, so if I go this way, it goes the opposite. You see that? So I apologize for my finger gestures. Yeah, donate. Devon's Journey to Recovery. GoFundMe link down there. With all that said, give this video a thumbs down.
Say you wanna get in.